Good morning, smart parents. Happy to be here again. I don't know. Sorry, I've my system, my device seem not just to be cooperating this morning. And well, it's about 5 a.m. and I'm just gonna go straight into it. I wanted to do it on the system so I could record my screen as well and all of that, but I'll send the slides as a follow-up. The question, can your child read? I don't know. I've looked at the registration so far. Some children can read, some have other learning issues, and there are quite a few mentioned that they have not even started school at all. 3-year-olds who are just about learning the ABCs, and everyone has something to learn and to adopt in this. So basically, what we're about is helping your child, equipping your child to thrive in school, so that as soon as school starts, they can move and they can be better positioned for success. Many programs exist. I don't want to begin to mention the names of various reading programs. I'm sure some of you have tried quite a number. However, children somehow still struggle. But the Mabella Reads, the smart start reading that we're using now, is based on a different philosophy altogether, not altogether, but a different approach and implementation. I started to teach my daughter to read when I had a school then, and based on expectations and things I had read and the process put in place by a very experienced teacher, I came in as a banker and started a school, so I was learning from my employees. It looked like something they would learn over 2 years. They would do ABCs, if one alphabet per week. That's like 2 terms. And then in the third term, they will learn the 2-letter blends, an, or, of, it. And then the second year, they will begin to blend CVC words and all of that. And for me, I felt it was so inefficient because I could see the boredom on the children's faces. Imagine writing A every day for 5 days. I then started teaching my daughter, and in 3 weeks, she mastered it. I didn't have a system, it was just happenstance. I think I'll tell you how that happened later. But basically, I refined that over the last 10 years or last 15 years because she is writing her GCSEs this year. She's 16 now. So she was about 3 years old. Enough with the history and let's move on. What are the reading approaches? You have the phonics base, that's the most popular one these days. We have the whole word context. You just give children the list of words, whether they are sight words or whatever. You believe that the more they look at those words, they would learn it. Then there's a context. Read to them, do bedtime, give them books, they will pick it up. Experience is also the same thing like that, very similar to that, but more like the children would evolve out of a need and they would learn to read and to write. It's not a philosophy class, but there's something to gain from the different approaches, and that is what informed the design of the program you're learning today. Now, one thing I need you to understand, children don't need all 26 letters to read. And when you teach them based on the alphabetical order, is also another inefficient approach. You have to spend time teaching them all the 26 letters, and it's redundant learning. That was what I discovered with my daughter. The moment learning became useful, if I teach her something new today, I create an opportunity for her to use it. I try to make sure it's something she can absorb. Instantly, her response changed. And that is what informed the order in which we will be teaching the letters. Every new letter your child acquires, you are going to integrate it into the previous knowledge and you are going to begin to build words with it. So it is not about learning A, B, C, D, E, F. Is disjointed. The child is wondering, okay, now I can recognize these letters and what next? That is not the approach. This will build confidence very quickly. 3 key elements that Help, which I have mentioned, apart from the other, the fact that it is fun. I want you to still be the parent. I want you to be the mom. I want you to teach with tools and methods that a teacher cannot use. I had a child some time ago's revision classes happened mainly in the bathroom. I remember another boy, the mom would write on his skin. Then he could not, this mirror letters, problem most children have, B and D, P and Q, C and F, and then he would write on his thighs. So in class, whatever time, whenever he got confused, he would try it out on his skin first. That is something will be difficult for a teacher to do, especially in this country, because you're not supposed to touch children anyhow, lest you be accused of something else. But a parent in the home, you could use your child's skin to help build his muscle memory. That's what I mean when I say you teach like a parent. There are so many things you can do that would help your child. I remember another boy, Annie, who somehow every time the mom was during shower time in the morning preparing him for school, she noticed that's when he would kind of begin to show off, begin to mention the things he had learned in school. And when she told me, I said that's the time to discuss with him. For some reason, that boy's body clock already programmed. Every morning he wanted to talk about his academics. So whatever he learns in school while he's having a shower, he would be talking to the mom about it. And then I told her, that's the time to do revision with him. Don't wait until it's not lesson time. After school, he will sleep, and then 6 o'clock she wakes them up. They would have lesson for 1 hour. For this child, it was important to meet him when he was most active and most interested. And that made a lot of difference to the boy's progress. Okay, so let me talk about what you will get. Your children will learn new sounds and words daily. You practice daily reading. There will be sentence building, and you would use fun activities. I would send you the lesson plans. I would send you worksheets. However, like I said, there's no sale in here. So it's not about this worksheets. I'm sure you have worksheets and textbooks. You can walk into any bookstore. You can go online. The critical difference is now that you know what each worksheet is supposed to do, what you're trying to teach your child at that particular time, which would inform the type of text material you are introducing. Am I trying to identify a letter? Am I trying to connect the sound? Are you trying to isolate the sound in a word? Are you trying to encode to bring them together? That is what would inform what you will do. And even when you don't have worksheets, I've used this system in remote places where they are very low exposure to English, where children hardly, where the family, the community they thrive in, speak very bad. If I remember some certain students, I had to tell their parents to stop speaking English to them because they were doing more damage. So you need to understand that this is something that you can do with just pen, paper, crayons, your glue, your scissors, basic stationery. But please, I mentioned earlier, use colorful paper. Don't just use white paper. Try to get different colors of papers to use. Yeah, cross learning, I don't think that's relevant. This program is actually an extract from a whole program for teaching preschool. And it is quite robust and time consuming. It's not something, but I just wanted to bring in the reading element. Let's be clear. We're teaching reading, not spelling, not vocabulary. There will be things that would feature, you would see elements of all of those things, but we need to be very focused on what we want to achieve. So sometimes when you are, the problem with many teachers is that it's a reading class, but of course you want to try and bring in spelling rules into it. Yes, it can be done, but you need to be mindful per time of what you're doing to help ensure that you remain very effective. What makes it different, like I said, you have early blending, early sentence building. There's a focus on understanding the words. And those are the key things: progress tracking, faster reading. I don't think there's a. Now, how we teach, the order in which we would teach phonics or teach the reading. First is letter recognition, the visual stage. When you bring out a letter A or a letter B, does the child know what it is? Then we begin to talk about the sounds. Letter A says ah, so they know the difference between the name and the sound. Now, some people say if you want to teach them reading, you should not mention the letter names. I don't do that because I know quite when I started teaching them, there were so many children who already had attended different schools and they already knew the letter names. There was no way for me to remove that. But what I would typically say is, I would ask the child, what's your name? My name is John. Okay, so what are the things John can do? What are the sounds John can make? That's how we approach it. Oh, you can shout, you can sing, you can whisper, you can talk. And then I say, letter A, that's the name of this letter, of this symbol you're seeing. That's the name. And then what are the sounds it can make? It can make A, it can make sound A. Sometimes it sounds O, like in all, like in call, like in wall. However, we're going to be learning different sounds per time. And for now, we need you to know that it makes sound A most of the time. And we begin to read with that. I'm sure you'll agree. English is not a purely phonics-based language. So, like letter C, sometimes it makes the S sound, sometimes it makes the K sound. All those things come into play. But basically, if you're teaching them the letter name, you also distinguish it from the sound. Then you go on to blending. You bring the letters together to blend. There are some children who will not learn by blending. I don't know what happens. I'm not a brain doctor, but I've had quite a few students who, no matter what we did, they would say the individual sounds. So you would hear egg, then they will tell you gum. So ab, mop. It was just like there was a disconnect. What I would do in those kind of instances is we go back to the whole word approach, or we go on to analytical phonics, not synthetic phonics. We begin to give them whole word blends. Once they know these words, then we blend only one letter with it. It's different from asking them to blend 3 or 4 letters individually. You would see this technique used when we begin to deploy the actual children's reading elements, which will start on Monday. I hope you have all your materials ready. I hope you have your pen, your paper, your markers, your dry erase pen, your scissors, your glue. I hope you have them ready. Now we move on to word reading. Like I said, that's the decoding bit, breaking them apart and calling them. What's the purpose here? I can read real words on my own. Once your child begins to see how all of this comes together, usually there's better interest, there's better engagement. Then we deal with the high frequency words. Now, most of these high frequency words and sight words, most of the high frequency words don't follow the phonics pattern. Or let me say many. But high frequency words are words that are usually used in the language. There are about 300 or 400. And once a child knows those words, it also improves their reading efficiency. How? On any piece of material that you see, on any text, you would find that these high frequency words will make about 60 or 70% of the words on that page. Things like the, is, and. Those are high frequency words. So when a child looks at any material, any text, and he can recognize and pronounce about 60% of the words, it gives him a lot of confidence to attempt the remaining 40%. And that is the basis of teaching them the high frequency words, because they learn and it makes it something they can do, rather than just focusing on decoding and phonics and all of that. No, they are both going to work hand in hand. So as we begin to introduce the letters, we're going to start with letter A. That's the first letter. Then the next one is N. Then the next one is T, A-N-T. So on day 1, When they learn the A, on day 2 they learn an, and they blend with the 2 letters an, A, an. So now they have 2 letters, and the 2 letters make a word. On day 3 they learn T, which is A-N-T. So they form another word. An, at, t, an, tan. So you can say that by day 3 they have about 4 words or 5 words from just the 3 letters they have learned. And on it goes. Then we begin to move on to phrases. So in the first week, I wish I had a body, but I think I will have one around by next week. You have A, N, T, S, and D. Those are the first 5 letters we're going to learn. And with those first 5 letters, they are reading phrases. An ant, and an ass. An ant sat. Dad sat. You know, these are the things that they would begin to do from very first week, and it would help them because they would be looking forward to what they would do with the next letter. They are reading the phrases, they are moving on to sentences and fluency. Now, fluency is very, very important. Under fluency, we have elements like the pace, the prosody, that is the rate, the accuracy. You don't want stutter reading. We don't want a child that is reading and is still saying the cat. There should be recognition. That should be instant. And that is where practice comes in. When they learn few words, you make sure they are practicing with it so that those things, there's an unconscious competence. They just say it. They just say it. It's not that every time they encounter it, they are trying to decode it all over again. No. The few words that they know, you make sure they say it. Teaching sessions. Okay. Let me jump straight to that. Teaching session, that comes to mind right now. Teaching sessions would be about 15 minutes where you would actually be teaching them. This is going to be inclusive of any game you want to use to teach. This is going to be inclusive of any worksheets that you want to deal with. You have to stop when the child is not tired. Do not teach until the child becomes tired and cranky. You know your child better. So if you see that by 10 minutes is the best they can do, please stop. Now you would now look for opportunities within the day to do like a 2-minute catch-up. You can make it a game. When you are cooking, you can tell your child, go around the kitchen and bring out any item that begins with an S sound. Go around the house. I've placed some, let's do a gold, digging for gold or a treasure hunt. So I have letters, that's what I used to do. I would have letters placed behind the counters, on the tables. With my post-it slips, I would stick it all around the house. So you could tell your child, go around, there are 10 letter S in the house. Go and bring them. What that also does, you see, when you use a worksheet and your child is working on a paper, it looks at letter S and it colors it. That's like a 2-second, 3-second activity. But when you tell your child, in my room, there are different post-its, but I want you to look for letter S. There are 4 of them. He will walk away from you to go into the bedroom. And if the walk from the lounge or from the kitchen where you are to the room takes, let's say, 1 minute, it means for the whole 1 minute, he's thinking about letter S. That makes that learning deeper. Then he picks it. You will vary that in various ways. Sometimes I would say, I want the letter S or the letter B that is written on a blue piece of paper. That is why I said you should buy different colors of paper or cardboards. So I would write it on letter. Maybe if you're teaching a new letter, write it on a particular color. 2 things you get from that now. The child is processing 2 levels of information. Is looking at that word, is looking at the color. So you are teaching focus. Because when we tell children, concentrate, you have to focus. Please, that thing doesn't mean anything to a child. A 3-year-old, you want him to concentrate for how long? You as the teacher would create activities that will force him to focus. So when he's going around the house looking for these things, Or when you tell him, pick something from the floor and sort it into this category, those are the things that will force him to concentrate and to focus on the learning at hand. What else do I have here? I think basically that covers it for this class. The order, okay, yeah. No, this will go on to the next class. But that is basically what you have. Now, the worksheets, no, I mean the lesson plans, I will be dropping them daily or a day ahead. I think I will drop them a day ahead. It will be better. We have 1 month from the 1st of May to the 31st of May, and we have 26 letters of the alphabet. However, we are going to do some of the letters. We're going to take 2 at a time for some of the letters. This is to allow us to have breaks in between, which I like. I like for the children. Ordinarily, we would do 5 days, then they would have Saturday and Sunday for you to review those 5 letters. And then we'll work for another 5 days. You would have Saturday and Sunday to read. That's a 5-week approach. But in this circumstance, you're not going to work in that order. So please, let's all be ready. Watch this. I'm thinking of on Tuesday when you watch this video, and I'll put a post out on the group, if we could arrange for a live session, maybe on Zoom, where I can talk about some of these things, and you can also ask me questions directly, so that as we go on, we begin to modify things to suit your children almost immediately. It doesn't make sense for us to get to week 3 before we begin to take note of your the peculiarities of your child. So I'll put out the poll. We don't need to be that many. If we're just going to be 5 or 10, whatever. But I want us to do our best, you and I, to make sure that we make this 1 month worthwhile. So please make sure you respond, make sure you look at your availability, and let's see if it is something that will be worth the while. Thank you for now. Bye.